Welcome to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, speaking with Dr. Rollie Carlson. Now, Dr. Carlson is CEO of Immunexpress. He's joining us to talk about development and commercialization plans for SeptiCyte RAPID that quantifies the immune response to infection. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, Dr. Rollie Carlson.
Thank you, Neil. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
What type of a doctor are you, and how did you come to be at Immunexpress?
Well, Neil, I've got a PhD in marine biology, specialized in marine biotoxins. I joined the healthcare industry over 25 years ago, and I've been in the biotech field since then, starting with Abbott Laboratories for a number of years, and then following that being the CEO of both diagnostic and pharmaceutical private and public companies. I came to Immunexpress as I've really enjoyed the intersection of what diagnostics and pharmaceuticals and or treatment, and that diagnostics, while they comprise about 12% of healthcare costs, they drive about actually 85% of healthcare decisions, whether that's taking a therapy or going down a surgical or medical intervention. And where diagnostics are really useful are trying to be able to solve unmet needs in trying to determine how to treat a patient. And Immunexpress was really working on a technology that was solving a key challenge, which is the lack of a rapid, sensitive, and reliable diagnostic test for sepsis.
So what was the result of that vision?
Well, the result of that is that Immunexpress was an original innovator for sepsis diagnosis and was the first company to be able to obtain an FDA clearance for diagnosing between sepsis and SIRS. And that is, in sepsis, which we can talk about a little bit later, is a life-threatening organ dysfunction that can lead to a dysregulated host response. And in that situation, sepsis is the body's overwhelming response to infection, which can lead to tissue damage, organ failure, amputations, and death. And there's a very, very significant need for a gold standard in this category.
So you say the body's overwhelming response to infection. That means the infection is so bad that the body is trying to do everything within its power to fight it, yet killing itself?
Yes. What happens is there's a cascade of events that leads to what is called a cytokine storm, and actually, as the immune response is overwhelming, it actually becomes dysregulated, and so it actually starts attacking its own organs itself. And in the situation for COVID, for example, which is due to viral sepsis, where you can have basically organ dysfunction, which is not only just respiratory effects, but kidney, heart, et cetera, like that.
So what is the current diagnostic landscape for sepsis? If it's prevalent in so many different types of severe infection, what are patients' options as we speak?
Well, currently there's no acceptable diagnostic gold standard, as I mentioned, and what has been the standard has been actually doing blood cultures, and blood cultures are you can get a result in between 12 and 24 hours. Many times you don't have a result at all. And sepsis progresses very, very quickly. In fact, as each hour goes by, the increased risk of mortality goes up by 8%. So there's a need to have something that is much faster. There are some new molecular techniques where you're looking at direct pathogen detection, but you're not able to determine all the different types of pathogens that could be causing sepsis. And so the technology that Immunexpress has developed is independent of whether it's going to be a viral pathogen or bacterial pathogen or fungal pathogen. We can be able to detect whether or not the body's going to go down that sort of dysregulated functionality and detect sepsis earlier.
So what is this new technology called, and is it available?
So the technology is called SeptiCyte RAPID. We recently received a CE mark in Europe, and right now we are doing the final clinical studies to be able to obtain FDA clearance.
Now, what is a CE
and
mark?
We hope to have FDA clearance in the third quarter of 2020.
You mentioned receiving a CE mark. What exactly is a CE mark, and why is it important for the company? Is it as important as the FDA clearance that you seek?
It's very important. The CE mark is actually the standard. We obtained a CE IVD in Europe, and we have done both clinical studies in Europe and have completed and have a technical file. And we received that mark about 1 month ago. We are partnering with a company called Biocartis, which is based in Belgium, that has a number of the platforms by which we are deploying our technology. And our technology, by the way, is very, very simple. It's near to patient. It's one where you draw whole blood from a patient. You actually open it and put it in a cartridge. And that cartridge is inserted into like a DVD tray, and you have a result within 1 hour. Wow. And Biocartis has well over 700 of these placements in Europe and major institutions and hospitals. And those are primarily for oncology applications. And now we are going to have an additional test on the platform.
Now, you mentioned FDA approval. What is the anticipated timetable on when it's going to be approved and become available in the United States? And once that happens, what do you anticipate its availability to actually be as far as insurance coverage, Medicare, Medicaid, things of that nature? I know it's a huge question at this point.
Yes, well, we anticipate FDA clearance in the third quarter of 2020. We are actually, the test is going to be the initial indication is to be utilized when a patient is to be admitted to the ICU with suspicion of sepsis. And reimbursement is under what they call DRG, which is the total hospital cost for managing a sepsis patient. So it will be incorporated in what CMS would typically reimburse a hospital for the total management of sepsis. Certainly, after the test is made available, we will be working towards trying to get into guidelines and receiving its own particular coding.
Talk about the connection between COVID-19. I mean, it's a very efficient test. It's a very rapid test, not available yet in the United States, but we are in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. How do you see the connection between COVID-19 being addressed by SeptiCyte RAPID?
That's an excellent question. Certainly in the pandemic, now the diagnostic industry, which has mobilized significantly, is focusing on two things. One, which is direct detection. Do you have the virus and are you infected? And secondly, have you been infected and do you have antibodies that are associated with that? The dilemma with COVID-19, as everyone knows, is that there are some individuals that are asymptomatic, they're infected, there doesn't seem to be any concern at all, and others who have tested positive have escalating symptoms. And if they do escalate, they escalate very, very, very quickly. And what SeptiCyte RAPID is looking at is for looking at severity of disease and disease management. So many ERs are faced with COVID positive patients coming in, escalating symptomology. The physicians really don't know if these patients should be admitted to the ICU. Many times they actually do a checkup and let them go. But the benefit of SeptiCyte RAPID is that if a patient has viral infection and leading to viral sepsis, our test can be able to detect that. And so if one is COVID positive, escalating symptomology, and our test is saying that it is positive, then it's likely that this person is going down the sepsis cascade. You could intervene earlier and manage that patient much better in an ICU.
Rollie, where can we learn some more about Immunexpress? Give us your website address.
Certainly Immunexpress.com, and in about a week we will have SeptiCyte.com as well, where you can learn much more about the details specifically of SeptiCyte technology, what its application is, and what the benefit of the test is.
Well, Dr. Rollie Carlson, thank you so much for joining us here on Health Professional Radio. Fascinating information, and good luck with your FDA approval. And I'm sure we'll be speaking again when it becomes more available, especially now that we are looking at many ways to fight this pandemic.
Thank you, Neil. It's been a pleasure to be on the call, and I also, certainly hope that the diagnostic industry can continue to help support in the COVID pandemic and to come up with solutions until we have a vaccine. Look forward to speaking with you soon.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Dr. Rollie Carlson, CEO of Immunexpress. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Listen in, download at SoundCloud, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com, Health Professional Radio.